In today's video, even Stephen A. Smith couldn't hold back calling out Jasmine Crockett's incompetence and exposing her failure to handle even the most basics of leadership. Instead of focusing on her district, she's putting politics first. And so we're breaking it all down. The contradictions, the fake confidence, and the misplaced priorities. It's time more people see through the performance and recognize what's really going on. Stick around as we unpack the clips, the facts, and the truth behind Jasmine Crockett's act, because the receipts don't lie.
When I point to a Jasmine Crockett, it's because here's what I know. All I ever hear her doing is going off about Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, can I tell you what my belief is? I have no desire to be a politician. Let me reiterate that. And I appreciate House Leader, Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries speaking to me in the way that he did by saying that I speak with the frustration of the American people, because you damn right I do. Let me tell you what gets me annoyed. And I hope Jasmine Crockett is listening to this. And by the way, she's welcome on the show. When you go on national television and you calling the president of the United States out of his name, and you're being all disrespectful, as a representative in this country, do you believe the citizens of Texas sent you there to do that? They don't like him either. I'm talking about those who voted for her in all likelihood. But because he is who he is and he is in that position, they expect you to go to Capitol Hill and figure out a way to maneuver yourself through that terrain to work in a fashion that's going to facilitate getting things done on behalf of your constituents. That's your job. That's your job. Excuse my language on Sirius XM, but it ain't your job to say he ain't shit. He ain't worth a damn. That's not your job. Anybody can do that. He's a deal maker. And if you figure out a way to make him look good in any way, quid pro quo is something he lives by. He'll reciprocate. If you know that, why you can't figure it out? Is that hard?
Jasmine Crockett isn't in D.C. to do what's best for her district. She's there to do what she thinks is best for her, and that's blame and attack Trump. And even Stephen A. Smith sees it. He's not defending Trump. He's defending having some bare minimum standards. He's saying if you're in Congress, act like it. You can disagree with the man. You can challenge his policies. But if the first tool you reach for is disrespect, you're not representing your people. You're performing for the cameras. And it comes off as if she's chasing the attention instead of the results. And for the voters back in her district, they get left with the same broken promises, the same empty gestures, and no progress to show for it. And hopefully more people see and realize exactly who she is and don't reward her incompetence any further. In this next clip, this is her in a meeting discussing Hunter Biden, believing that she's so right, but yet sounding so wrong.
Professor Gerhardt, just to be clear, as my colleagues have even tried to provide evidence, which they're not the ones to provide evidence, have you ever heard them say "if" since we've been sitting here for I don't know how long?
Yes, I've been taking a tally.
Oh, okay. Can you show us? Can you tell us what the tally is?
More than 35 times, the Republican witnesses and Republican members of the committee have used the word "if."
Thank you so much for that. Because honestly, if they would continue to say "if" or Hunter and we were playing a drinking game, I would be drunk by now. But I will tell you what the president has been guilty of. He has unfortunately been guilty of loving his child unconditionally, and that is the only evidence that they have brought forward. And honestly, I hope and pray that my parents love me half as much as he loves his child. Until they find some evidence, we need to get back to the people's work, which means keeping this government open so that people don't go hungry in the streets of the United States. And I will.
She thought she was going to have some gotcha moment where she'd be able to point the finger and say how right she was. But instead, she just made herself look like a bigger fool. And listen, you got to give credit where it is deserved. That's something she has mastered and has become very well versed at.
But this is a war. This isn't a battle. And we absolutely will win this war.
It is a war. It is indeed a war. And I have to say, they have won some battles, Jasmine, but we have to keep our eye on the war, and everybody needs to pick up a weapon and get involved, because this is for the safety and lasting of the country.
Me disagreeing with you, me calling you, a wannabe Hitler, all those things are like not necessarily saying go out and hurt somebody. But when you're literally telling people at rallies, yeah, beat them up and that kind of stuff, like, you are promoting like a culture of violence.
And I'm sorry, but instead, we are not only going to punch you back, but we are going to knock you out.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. It's Ted Cruz. I mean, like, this dude has to be knocked over the head, like, hard.
You ever notice how Democrats talk about unity like it's a brand, but never actually practice it? You had Jay Jones out in Virginia, who Democrats are still supporting and standing behind despite the violent, disgusting things he said about his Republican opponents and his children. And they won't even call him out for his vile and disgusting words. It's wild, right? Because these are the same people that scream democracy is under attack when things got heated on the other side. But when it's their own folks talking reckless, suddenly it's passion or a misunderstanding or just flat out being justified. That's not unity, that's selective outrage. And look at Jasmine Crockett. She's not trying to work across lines. She's trying to draw them deeper. It's not about representing her district. It's about representing herself.
Do you think the political violence problem on the right is worse than what it is on the left?
I think it's a false comparison in the first place. And I think we should have a leader that is responsible enough to denounce political violence, period. It's not about where it comes from. It's about the fact that it is happening. It is never okay. It is never okay if it happens on the left. It is never okay if it happens on the right. And if we had someone that knew how to be an adult in the room, he would say that. But when we look at it, please tell me who is fostering this gun culture, right? I mean, the reality is that the average person on the left probably couldn't make a shot from 200 yards because they haven't been playing with assault rifles since they were a little kid. Like, that is just the reality of how people on the left typically work.
I guess Jasmine just wants us to ignore these liberal-run blue cities where the murder rate is just out of control. Like Memphis, like Detroit, like Chicago. She wants to try and paint this narrative that liberals are just these peaceful people who want to unify everybody. It wouldn't dare think about trying to harm someone. Here's another clip of Jasmine thinking she's the smartest person in the room when explaining law enforcement doesn't prevent crime, they only solve it.
I want to be clear that, like, law enforcement isn't to prevent crime. Law enforcement solves crime, okay? That is what they're supposed to do. They are supposed to solve crimes, not necessarily prevent them from happening, per se.
How this woman was able to get elected for any public government position still perplexes my mind. Here's her talking about how she knows how to connect with those out in rural communities out in Texas.
When it came down to the presidential, I told the team, I said, stop sending me to all the urban centers. Yes, I can do that. Yes, but you got plenty of surrogates that can go do that. You need to send me to rural America. And they were looking like, huh? And I'm like, listen, I was in East Texas. I live there. I know the struggles. I know what it's like when the paper mill is threatened with shutting down or Cooper Tire may shut. I know the struggles and the angst. I know how these small town economies work. I get it because I lived it. I still have property out there. Like I'm like, just try me, like, trust me on this, right?
Jasmine just wants you to trust her. Even though she can't conduct herself with the most basic of professionalism when speaking about the president, she just wants you to trust her, that she knows how to speak to small town folk because she understands she owns property there. I mean, hey, that's all it takes, right? But listen, I don't think you can trust Jasmine Crockett to take out the trash. You tell her something belongs in the waste and she'll toss it in with the recycling. But let's go ahead and jump into this last clip. Because when all else fails and she has nowhere else to turn, she'll just simply misrepresent the facts, say whatever sounds good, and just flat out lie. Take a listen.
Let me ask you, because I do want to play a couple of statements that you made earlier this year. Okay.
Unfortunately, we have someone that is occupying the White House. And as far as I'm concerned, he is an enemy to the United States. They want to show that they are loyal to this, you know, I don't even know what to call him. I've called him so many things, but this wannabe Hitler for sure.
And to be clear, the president has attacked, other people have attacked you in his orbit, maybe not him personally. But do you have a responsibility as an elected official not to raise the temperature, but rather lower the temperature, particularly when there are people out there who listen to elected officials all over the place who are not well, who use that as a way to instigate the political violence that you are calling out?
I think that my responsibility is to be transparent and to be honest. And the reality is that we are living in a time in which this administration and this regime is not interested in making sure that people understand history. We need to understand why they are so problematic. And so I am using that language because it is accurate language. When we see the consolidation of power, when we see them trying to chill speech of jokesters, when we're seeing all of this, that is a playbook out of Hitler, and I won't deny it. Like, these are the facts. But one of the things that I've never done that the president has done consistently is called specifically for violence. He has said, oh, beat that one up. He has said those types of things. We know that Charlie Kirk was saying things about who should live and who should die. I have never said those kinds of things. And I think that those things are the ones that are really, really dangerous.
And so there you guys have it. And this is why this woman needs to be exposed. That way more people can see her and the lies that she spews. Listening to her make up things about Charlie Kirk while also lying about how she never says anything about inciting violence, but we just shared the receipts. At some point, we got to stop confusing noise with leadership, because shouting doesn't make you strong and disrespect doesn't make you brave. And that's all Jasmine Crockett is, loud and wrong. But anyway, guys, questions, comments, thoughts, drop them down below. I appreciate when you guys chime in. Don't forget, you enjoy any part of the content, smash the like button for more, subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, stick around for the next video. Letitia James gets indicted and the liberal media doesn't waste any time showing their bias. Stay tuned for that one, and I'll see you next time.